December. Hello, sweet peas. We are officially at 1 year of these new moon love notes, and I haven't entirely decided how I'm going to structure them for 2024. They might continue as is. I might take a break from them. There's a lot of changes that are going to be coming in 2024 that I'm really looking forward to, and also aspects of them that are still up in the air, and so will determine a lot of how much time I have and or energy I have to be devoting to things like social media and showing up in a regular way beyond kind of the basics that I've always maintained, which include the weekly newsletter, and then showing up in some way on Instagram. But I am kind of reevaluating what's worked well, what has not. The new moon love notes were always intended as a bit of an experiment, and I haven't certainly enjoyed pulling them together for you. And I also enjoy the fact that YouTube doesn't have as short of a lifespan as an Instagram post, so we might keep them up. But I will let you all know that kind of moving forward, my plan is to at least put together a January new moon love note so that you have a bit of a heads up about what the rest of 2024 will look like. But at this particular stage of time, we're going to close out the year with our 12th new moon love note. And yeah, or 13th? No, I think we managed to only fit 12 in. But anyway, we are going to jump right into everything that has been happening this month, which has been a lot. So let's get right into it. So I had the delightful task of hosting the very first Fiber Shed panel for Vogue Knitting Live. And you can see here me with one of my favorite books, and wearing the folklore shawl, which has very quickly added itself into my personal wardrobe. And so the reason that I am half naked here on YouTube and also on Instagram these days is that we are currently doing a live round of the Me Made Wardrobe mini course in the Creative Coven community, working through the workbook and its resources together so that we can tackle some new wardrobe makes and curations together. And as part of that, I have been evaluating my own wardrobe needs and kind of where my gaps are currently sitting, and also sharing some slow fashion tips over on Instagram with these daily videos of getting dressed. And it's been actually kind of a fun way of showing up on social media, which has been really exhausting for me for an extended period of time, but has felt especially exhausting and tender lately. And I've actually been really enjoying just grabbing my camera each morning and setting it up while I get dressed each day. And it does mean that I am every single day pulling out my camera and then needing to do some quick edits and things. But it weirdly feels like less bandwidth in my brain and with my energy levels than the last extended period of time. So that's going to continue at least until I go on my holiday break next week. But yeah, if you have ever kind of wondered how I actually plan out my wardrobe each day, it involves a lot of layers and is a mix of me-mades and slow fashion, and then some fast fashion that is mixed in there and that I do my best to keep in there for many years. I've got the shirt that I'm actually wearing in this video is a ready to wear that is 10 years old. So keeping items in our wardrobe is just as important as adding new things with intention. One of those is this delightful Mother Hubbard, and then I've been wearing my wool scarf, and there are a few of those dyed with local dyes in the shop update that happened a few weeks ago. So that's kind of what my wardrobe makes have been in this holiday season and shop update season. And then on the world of my knitting, it's actually been really nice because I published the folklore shawl at the very beginning of December, which was kind of midway through this latest moon cycle. And I have still the 8 remaining major arcana sock patterns to release. And then from there, I'm planning on taking a bit of a break from pattern writing. And I'm not going to say that I'm retiring from pattern writing because I don't believe that that is true. But I am looking forward to knitting things for my upcoming art installation and not worrying about the added labor of grading things across multiple sizes and writing patterns and worrying about like perfect charts and getting things edited and all of that. If you have joined me for the Creative Coven online design course, you know that there is so much more that goes into pattern writing than just knitting a pretty sample. And so right now, it's been 10 years of designing. And almost around 250 patterns within that time frame, with over 200 of them available on the website right now. And I feel like that is enough of a buffer to leave y'all alone for a little bit with the things that I've already published and to just knit things for me / for the installation without worrying about making them work for 13 different sizes and all of that. So what I am currently winding up here on the screen in front of you is a skein of roots that was dyed with homegrown Black Knight Scabiosa, and I am currently knitting a sweater from it that is going to be part of my personal wardrobe. It's also one of the things that I'm kind of tackling within my own plans for the Me Made Wardrobe mini course live round. And it's about halfway done on my needles right now. I'm planning on making it cropped and with shorter sleeves. And I'm through the yoke and about midway down the body at this point. So still the rest of the body to do, and then 2 shorter sleeves, kind of elbow length. And then I'm going to be steeking it and making it into a cardigan. So I'm actually using my wolf's teeth cardigan pattern as the base, but the yoke is a cabled yoke rather than color work, and like I said, I'm cropping it. So that's been really delightful to knit because it's just so fun, and also a big part of the fun is not worrying about how to make it easily grade across 13 other sizes. So that's kind of the main thing that's on my needles, and then of course I always need a sock pattern on my needles as well, because you can never have too many socks, and also because they're a lot easier to transport around. I can just shove them in my little bag and get myself on the go. So the yarn that I'm winding up here, or about to cake up, is a really bright and cherry orange. You can see that it's basically the same shade as that tangerine on the background there. And it was from Tango Cosmos this year. And it is one of the Twin Oaks all natural sock yarns that I collabed with my friend Twin Oaks Farm. And so those, that kind of small collection of sock yarns went up into the online shop earlier this, I guess, moon cycle as well. And there are, I think, 14 skeins left and still a really lovely rainbow, including some oranges that are similarly vibrant, and then some really delicious greens. A bunch of the yellows have sold, which is interesting to me, and some lovely teals and neutrals as well, and then some purples, which are quite fun. I had a lot of fun with anthocyanins this year. So I'm knitting up for the art installation some of, not all of, but some of my Major Arcana socks using homegrown dyes on, of course, all natural sock yarns. And so this pair is, I believe, my 7th out of 12 planned pairs. And it is going to be a pair of the Chariot socks. And that was, I think, in Major Arcana Volume 1. But you can find the pattern in the web shop, of course. Or just check the links on the blog post and you'll find it. And so I'm knitting those up, and they're actually requiring me, because of the charting pattern, involve me paying slightly more attention than I need to at this point with the cardigan that I'm knitting. So my cardigan is actually my easy project for social knitting. But it is just slightly less transportable at this point. So I kind of bounce back and forth between taking them places. But yeah, it's really nice to have such a bright and cheery yarn on my needles right now. So yeah, and the colors are just generally delightful across the board. So yeah, that's what's been on my needles, and will probably be on my needles through the holiday period is my expectation as well. My dye pots have been really busy, including, of course, with these delightful scarves. And this was photographing the scarves in action with Willow. And my dye pots have been in varying stages of working with them for commercial products, for markets, for the art installation, for my own wardrobe, making paints and paper and pigments and things like that. But the main thing that I'm kind of focused on at this particular moment in time is my art installation. And so I have a little sneak peek for you for a donor event we're doing in February.
Done.
So it is the busiest time of year, as is usual for small businesses. And there was a shop update a few weeks ago, and I am currently dealing with some final holiday markets. I've got one more big market this upcoming weekend. If you are a Winnipeg local, it will be at IKEA and is in partnership with IKEA and Manitoba Craft Council. And if you're not a Winnipeg local, then you can always shop online 24/7, including these delightful stick and stitch pieces for embroidery or patterns for embroidery. And I'm using my silk naturally dyed embroidery thread, but you could certainly use wool as well. And so it's fun to just kind of be messing around with and playing with different projects right now. But the market season and retail generally has been really hard this year, and not good, honestly. And I am hearing the exact same thing from so basically every other maker that I know. People are running deep discounts, not because they can really afford it, but because they can't not afford it because their bills are so imminent that they just need to be moving stock that normally would have moved a lot easier. I'm certainly feeling like I'm in the same boat. And yeah, it's been honestly the worst year for retail. And that is after having dragged a business constantly pivoting through years of pandemic lockdowns and constantly like up in the air, festivals or not festivals, online, offline, in person. Now we can't do it, and now we can. And through all of that uncertainty, this past year has been the absolute worst in a way that has been disheartening and exhausting. And that has definitely been then compounded by how much social media has changed over the last year, and what that landscape looks like, and how, like, if you're not paying big bucks to play, your stuff is not being seen. And also, like, the content creation hamster wheel is requiring us to do a lot. And there are people who can say, oh, well, we never had social media back in the day, so you're able to reach a bigger audience, which is true. Like, that is a fair fact. But the other side of that coin is that online businesses didn't function the way that they do now. If I were to rely on my local Winnipeg audience, I would not be in business because they're too small a portion of my customer base. And I have some really devoted local customers. It's not that people who are local aren't supporting local at all, but it is just that it is not a large enough portion to make a sustainable life. And this year, it hasn't been sustainable, even if you have a broader reach. And so it's been really tiresome. And, I've been talking about that for the last several love notes. So this isn't new to anybody who's been listening for the last little bit or who's been paying attention on, the newsletters or on social media, if you're actually seeing my stuff on social media. But it has, forced a lot of decisions. And for some folks, it means that they are just fully getting rid of their businesses and shutting their doors. For others, it means that they're taking, part-time or full-time work and going back to their creative business being a side hustle. For some, it's that, they were in a brick and mortar space with a team and now they are back in their house and it's just them. In my case, I don't have that option of shrinking things down from brick and mortar and team to being in the house with just me because I have always been functioning in the house with just me. And so that's, it's been exhausting, but the way that I've been kind of shifting my gears is that I have been leaning more into teaching and also just leaning more into my art practice, because for me, that's what's viable. I know myself well, and I know that to try and join the regular workforce would make me miserable. And I would not be a healthy version of myself because I've been there and done that. And at this point, it's just a matter of figuring out how do I shift the way that I am doing my art and where my art is showing up and how it's showing up, not, letting go of my art. And there's, I think, something really great about that and or heartening for me in terms of knowing myself that well and knowing my drive and my passions that well. I've got friends getting married next year, and another friend is premiering his first full-length ballet, and I'm not willing to give up the ability to go and see these like beautiful things that are happening in the world with people that I love in order to have a slightly more stable paycheck, because the business has been consistent enough that I haven't needed to shut my doors. It's just been one where it's gotten harder and harder and harder, and my energy has been more and more depleted, and I have shrunk a lot of things in order to facilitate the kind of bare minimum to happen. And so yeah, boss switch mode lately has just involved me being really tired a lot lately. And that has also involved me just kind of like recognizing where things aren't working. And there's, of course, grief attached to figuring out what things get let go of, or which parts of our identity do we allow to shift, and grieving those pieces while also recognizing that it is, in order to let new things come in, we need to let some things go to make space for them. And that's hard and also is necessary. And so I feel like that's been basically all of this year. But I am excited about what 2024 has to offer. And I am also really excited to be taking a break for a couple of weeks. And that's so necessary. And like last year, I didn't actually take a break over the holidays. I'm notoriously bad for taking breaks generally. I don't sit still well. Unless I'm traveling, and then I'm engaged in different ways, and I rest by being active in different ways, and by nourishing different parts of my soul. And so when I'm not traveling, it's really hard for me to just like take time off. And usually the time of year that I am best able to do that is over the winter holiday season. And that is because solstice and Christmas for me have just always been times that I have been good at shifting my gears into making for pleasure and just like really digging into that season. And last year I didn't do that because Willow had her surgery at the beginning of January, and I knew that that was going to happen. And so I worked through the winter season or the winter holidays because I knew that I was then going to need to be in caretaking mode and also stuck on the main floor with her and unable to spend extended periods in the basement where my studio is or upstairs where my sewing room is. And where I do a lot of my photography. So basically, the too long didn't read version of that is that I have not had a break in like 2 years. It's not good. And so I am taking a break this holiday season, and I'm really excited about it. And I am sure that I will struggle with it when it comes. But I am planning a lot of bath magic and candle magic and baking and making just for shits and giggles, as well as playing catch up on some other making projects. And I am so looking forward to it. Boss Witch mode is about work, yes, but that is also so much about rest. Because what the fuck is the point if we are not enjoying our time? So, that's what the next little bit is going to be looking like. But as you've been watching here, there's been a lot of me stitching and embroidering, and then also a lot of time with my loom. And that is because I finally got my beautiful Leclerc Nihilus that I purchased from a friend of my mom's, or a friend of my mom's, maybe. Back when I first bought my house. Like, this has been in my house as long as I have, pretty much. And it has just sat in the storage room in my basement where my yarn gets stored and where my packing supplies get stored. And it was stuck behind boxes for a very long time. And that was kind of my excuse for not dealing with it. But really, it was that I was nervous about putting it together and warping, because the last time I warped a loom, I threw my back out. And so it sat for 6 years. And so I realized that the front to back method of warping works really well for this loom in particular, just because of where it's positioned in this space. I don't really have that much access to the back side of it. And certainly not to sit comfortably for the hours it takes to be doing the warping. So front to back worked well. And so I ended up weaving my 2022 Color Harvest on the white wool, and wove it in this very cute kind of semi-basic twill pattern. And it was about a yard of fabric, which was fascinating. I didn't realize that the white wool was going to be that much. My plan had been that I was going to weave the white and the gray color samples, and then also make some scarves for the winter markets. And I managed to weave the white wool, and then I had enough warp left to then make a cushion cover, or the one side of what will become a cushion cover. Also using homegrown dyes, actually using the leftovers from my folklore shawl. But I did not have enough warp to do the gray yarn. And then I also realized that considering how this year has gone as far as market sales, it did not make sense to, hand weave a bunch of really expensive scarves and, push myself to do that when I'm trying to take a fucking break. So I did not do that to myself, and I am glad I did not do that to myself. And so I wove those two things and then cut them off the loom, and I will weave some more things in maybe over the holiday season, definitely in the new year. I'm just really happy to have my loom up and running, and that feels really like nice and lovely. And I am dreaming about the yardage that I will weave and the blankets I will weave for my art installation. And that's kind of where my attention is right now, is making pieces for the installation, and then also doing my own natural dye study and teaching, so that I can be making progress on the curriculum development that I am working on in a way that feels good and supportive for those things. So that's kind of where the main attention has been, as far as Boss Witch mode this last little bit, has been making for holiday markets and making for the installation, and recognizing where my boundaries need to be sitting right now, and where I need to rest, and where I need to kind of kick my own butt back into gear. And I did actually plan the first quarter of the year with the help of my coach who I have worked with on and off over the years. Her name is Haley, and she runs Your Content, Your Empire. And like it's around this time every year that I do a content planning retreat with her. And I feel like it's the one time of year that I am like very intentional about my business planning, and it's really helpful. And right now in particular, I have found it very helpful because I felt very unmoored in a lot of ways while I'm waiting on grant applications that we're still like, we're putting in grant applications or waiting on responses for grant applications. We're applying for arts festivals, waiting on others, planning press events, all of these things. And so there's like steady work that needs to be happening with those. And also there's a lot of waiting, and the waiting is tricky. Definitely not the thing that I am necessarily the best at. And so it feels good to, in this moment of like kind of seismic shifts in the way that I'm doing my work, have sat down and looked at what do the next 3 months look like, and had a really clear vision of what that looks like. And then also had some clarity that the 3 months following that are already kind of structured for me, even while I am waiting on these results that I'm going to be hearing about in the months before them. Like the first quarter of the year is going to clarify a lot in terms of how, like what I'm moving forward with at which pace. But even with that in kind of limbo, there's a lot of clarity around what's happening from April through June of next year. So yeah, that feels pretty good. But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to taking a break and clearing my energy in my mind, and kind of my soul generally, and coming back at things in less of a scarcity mindset, which has really been kind of a baseline for this year, and doesn't allow me to be as creative because I'm just too tired to be spinning my wheels in a new way. The pivoting is exhausting after a while. And not to the point where I'm like, somebody else tell me what to do, but certainly in a point of like, give me a fucking break for 3 months and let something just be standard and like stay the same and be reliable just for enough time for me to actually move all the way through something and be okay with moving through it. So yeah, that's kind of the main things with that. And I've been spending some time, making new stuff for the community, the Creative Coven community. We're wrapping up this first little series of Ackley Tales with my little seasonal short stories. And so 6 of the 7 planned stories are out now. You can read them in the community, and they're just little short seasonal tales that are kind of designed to tickle your creative senses and inspire you with natural dyeing and herbalism and making in a fantasy, witchy fiction way. And so those have been fun to write. I am hoping that I will write more. I don't know that I'm going to be writing them so consistently that like every 2 weeks there will be a new Ackley tale the way that I've been doing. But there will, I'm anticipating to write more seasonal stories to fit in there and to continue Bramble and Mortimer's adventures. So that's been fun. And then, of course, spending time with the Me Made Wardrobe mini course. There's so much that lives in the community, and it is also literally the way that I was able to survive a lot of this year. When I transitioned the website over, I lost a lot of members, to be completely candid, and that is hard. Like literally financially, it's tricky. And in terms of energy, it feels hard to be putting a lot of energy in when there are fewer people that are consuming that content. But it is also the space where I can be putting my work and actually be compensated for it. And I think that that's really fucking important. And so I think my kind of inklings for 2024 are that I'm going to be doing a lot more of my active work within that container of the community. And that there will be snippets that can exist in other free spaces with social media, but my labor is not free. And I'm not going to pretend that it is, because that doesn't serve me at all. And also doesn't serve you, because then I end up being a burnt out, shittier version of myself. And that's not helpful. So, definitely planning on focusing more in the community, and also, kind of putting more emphasis again on my online courses that are available all the time and that are really good resources, which then also gives me time to be teaching in person and, going into schools and going into different organizations and running classes. So, yeah, I am looking forward to kind of all that looks like, and I'm glad to be having an opportunity to kind of review what 2023 looked like this year. It felt like there were a lot of years and a lot of things that could have had their own like year devoted to them shoved into this past year. Like Sanctuary came out earlier this year. Really, it came out through the entire year. But it feels like it was so long ago at this point that I don't even really remember it. And yeah, I don't know necessarily what that looks like or means for the way that I do things generally. But I will say that I have been making multiple batches of the flower lollipop recipe that is in Sanctuary for holiday gifts. So highly recommend using the batch gifts that have their recipes in Sanctuary to get you through holiday making gifting season, if that's a thing that you're interested in. So yeah, that's been boss witch mode as we're shifting into semi-holiday mode. So yeah. So it probably doesn't really come as a surprise that witch life mode has been really tiresome, honestly. I've been crying a lot, which my therapist reminds me is really good and is just my body being very wise and releasing grief. And there are so many things to grieve right now. There's a lot of things to appreciate, but part of where I know I need to be taking this holiday break and just adjusting things in general is that, like, I am an optimist at heart. There's a lot of really strong Sagittarius energy in my chart and in my body. And whenever I'm having a hard time finding the optimism in things and finding the like underlying beauty even in shitty things, that's always for me a sign that I need to take a break and I need to be reevaluating things. And so this last month I've been referring to myself as an underslept, overslept, leaky faucet. And that's been, it's been a time. There have been some lovely things happening, but honestly, one of the things that I've been thinking about the most as Willow shakes her furry body beside me, is that I always love being vulnerable, and I think it's important, and I think that showing your soft heart is important. And also, there's a level of vulnerability that I think comes from not like a steady place or a sturdy place, but comes from a like really insecure, unsure, uncertain space. And that's where I feel like a lot of my vulnerable energy has been coming from lately. And I don't love it. And so the reason that relates to this witch life section, is because I am debating on taking this Witch Life section out of New Moon Love Notes if we're continuing it in the future. And what I think I would like to do instead is replace this section with something else, honestly. Like, I just want to make shit for me again and stop needing or feeling like I need to document every single fucking thing that I do. I'm dropping a lot of F-bombs in this month's video, which also should give you an indication of how tired I am. My censorship skills are non-existent unless there's small children around, and yeah. There's no small children in my house right now. So yeah, I am probably going to be taking out this Witch Life section and keeping my personal life to myself more. Not that I share everything that's happening, but just I know that there are things these days that I would rather just have for the joy of having them, not because I need to feel like they're part of my content creation for my business or as part of capitalism. So I think probably what will happen is that this section gets replaced in the new year, probably with either installation updates or maybe curriculum writing updates. That might be like a general overview and or shift of some of the sections of this New Moon's Love Note anyway, is just shifting gears to better reflect the work that I'm working on. Or maybe I will keep the sections as they are because, Boss Witch and Fiber Witch and Knit Witch make sense. So yeah, I think the long and short of this video is that I am tired and I need a break. And in the new year, I will have hopefully more energy to share with you what the results of that break look like and what my work is looking like moving forward. I will also use this time to remind you that if you are in the financial position to be supporting makers right now, please do. We are so fucking tired, and there are so many people closing their businesses. And a friend of mine mentioned that I guess tarot readers and astrologers have been seeing signs that 2025 is supposed to be like a big return for in-person events and what that used to mean for businesses. And I am here to tell you that there are a lot of businesses that are not going to make it to 2025. So if you love the work that people are doing and you have the means to compensate them, please do. If you don't have the means to compensate them financially, at least send them a lovely note. Take some energy for engaging on social media and let people know how much they matter, and join people's newsletters so that they can actually reach you. And it's not only on, on social media apps that are increasingly limiting the way that we are able to reach our audiences. I don't know. It's tricky, and I'm tired and I need a break. And I hope that after the holidays, I will come back to you with a much more positive outlook on things. Not because toxic positivity is what I'm aiming for, but I do value being more of a bright light. And I feel like lately I'm like a cranky gremlin sitting in the corner crying half the time and grumbling another 40% of the time. And then there's 10% of beautiful glimmers, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is how I want to feel. So aiming for that 10% to be more like 60% minimum. That would be nice. Phases, people, phases. Okay, Happy New Year, Happy Yuletide season. I hope that you are able to enjoy whatever this season means for you. For a lot of us, we have holidays tied around the solstice period. For others, not. But I hope that you are, spending time with loved ones and enjoying nourishing food and moving your body in ways that feel good to you, no matter what the season holds. And I will see you in 2024. Thanks, sweet peas. Gonna leave you with some singing.
I had a heart, it was warm from the start, hotter than these August nights. Bundled it away, tucked in to keep it safe, corked and shelved to let it age. Rising now, I let it out to meet with my muse. Lighter now, we can talk about, is there one number or two for you? I give you my heart to hold when it is dark, when timorous love I will be your nightlight. You knew from the start that you would have my heart, drew me up and led me into the spotlight, and we danced with my feet on top of yours, until the steps come from memory and the focus is just us. And now to let it out and break the good news. Twice as loud, stand me down and shout that it's me that you choose. I have your heart, like summer has its luck, to light up like fireflies, light country nights, when roads pull you away for several working days. I'll dial your hotel to sing you good night. All yours now, and darling, how you know what I'll do. I love you now. You ask me how, I say I love